Is the wine slump over? Well, analysts say almost, but you might need to wait until 2029. Investing in wine is not as easy as it once was, we'll discuss, and French organic wineries face a government-made mildew dilemma. And is wine losing its appeal, or are we just drinking differently? Trends in alcohol reveal a taste shift. You know, everyone's got an opinion, so do I. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, cheers, everybody. I'm drinking a little Sancerre here, and I'm drinking in a special Riedel Sauvignon Blanc glass. I'm not sure it tastes any different than in a universal glass, but you know, why not? Smells lovely, tastes lovely. Hey, welcome to episode 84 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, February 23rd, 2026. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey, and if you're not familiar with us, we are your number one source for corkage fees, as well as wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, more of those coming, by the way, and much, much more. Let's get right on into this week's wine news. Oh my goodness. Well, I talked about it last week. We had the article by W. Blake Gray talking about, oh my goodness, there could be, in fact, a shortage of grapes. You know, we're at 50% of the California harvest. We're just talking California here. But Meissen International, Jeff Siegel he went to the 2026 Silicon Valley Bank Wine Industry Report. He kind of summarizes it all up. Going through it, their thought is that it's still bumpy, but it's the whole wine industry as a whole is probably going to hit bottom sometime 27, 28 before modest growth returns around 29. So if you watched the show last week, if we were at 50% of the harvest that we were in 2018, I think it was, or 29, whatever that was, and now we're still going to go a little lower. So we may end up being 40% of where we were 8 years ago, and then slowly start building it back up. But from the article, one thing Macmillan, he writes the Silicon Valley Wine Report, expected in 2025 that didn't happen the way he thought was discounting. This is really interesting. Since there was such a glut of wine, there was a whole theory that there was going to be really, really huge discounting, sometimes destroying brands. So to put this in a little context. And yes, there was discounting, but it took place with private label and not necessarily with price cuts on typical brands at retail. While there's no good sources of accurate private label sales data, based on company reports, we believe the vast amount of high quality bulk wine available is creating compelling consumer value in private label, where wine demand is growing in double digits, led by Total Wine and More and Costco, but extending into mainstream establishments like Kroger, said the report. That's a positive form of discounting that attracts new value-seeking customers, protects existing brand value, and helps drain the ocean of bulk wine. So, if you don't know what that is, Kirkland brand, usually fantastic wine. You don't know what you're going to get. There are rumors. I don't know, but it's like, oh, the Chardonnay is Kendall Jackson Reserve. They have Kirkland brand Chateauneuf de Pau. Anyway, you've got this bulk wine out there. People can't sell it. They got to get rid of it. They don't want to hurt their brand. They're getting $125 a bottle for it. But they've got all this extra juice laying around. They know they're not going to sell it. They don't want to sit on it. So they dump it to Kirkland. They dump it to Total Wine. They dump it, to Kroger, to grocery stores. They actually are then able to sell high quality wine at a nice rate, potentially getting new consumers to drink wine. So anyway, all that and more. 2029, just wait. And moving on, the Forbes Finance Council. I'm not certain, but I think this is one of those pay to be published kind of things. Pretty sure it is, but I might be wrong. There's a piece by Anthony Zhang. He's the co-founder of VinoVest. This is a company he founded that you give them money. It's kind of like a REIT for wine and spirits. They buy wine. So they say, look, we're going to buy $300,000 of this Bordeaux, and you're going to own your piece of that Bordeaux. We're actually going to take physical ownership of the wine, and it's going to sit in our warehouse. And as it appreciates, you will participate in that appreciation. But he's got a nice little article here talking about that we're in for a complete reset of the global wine market after years of oversupply and the reliance on pricing power, all of this. But basically saying that now this reset means, it's a structural change for both producers, consumers, and investors, with implications that will echo well into 2026 and beyond. From the article, prices have adjusted closer to real demand for both investors and producers. 2025 was a year of recalibration. The clearest signal is pricing on the secondary market. The broad market has been soft since the 2022 peak. Burgundy and Champagne, which led the run-up, have also been among the most exposed to the pullback. This matches what you would expect after a momentum-heavy cycle. When liquidity tightens, the most stretched categories reprice first. Auction market commentary supports this shift. Buyers still show up, but they bid with more discipline and focused. Mature rare bottles with clear Provence remain highly sought after. The top 10 Sotheby's wine lots were all vintages between 83 and 2009. All 10 were from coveted Burgundy producers. Recent releases priced aggressively often struggle to clear. Liquidity is still present, but it's no longer indiscriminate. So the days of just massively bidding on wine, it's going to continually go up, seem to be over. And again, we're in an entire reset in the entire investment in spirits and wine, that entire market as well. Pretty interesting article over at Forbes from Anthony there. And moving on, in the crazy, we always love these government intervention stories. This one is literally nuts. Paige Donner over at Wine Spectator is reporting that France's National Health and Safety Agency has recently withdrawn authorization for most copper-based fungicides. This is what organic wine producers use to take care of downy mildew, which just destroys crops. It's been used forever. It's organic, it's copper, and it's proven to be safe. But from the article, on July 15th, 2025, the National Health and Safety Agency, ANSES, withdrew market authorization for 19 copper-based fungicides that farmers use to combat downy mildew. The products can no longer be bought or sold as of January 15th, 2026. After that, the farmers have 1 year to use existing stocks. Copper is a natural element, naturally occurring in nature, said Gerard Bertrand, a leading vigneron in southern France, an advocate of organic farming. To get toxic levels, you have to use much larger quantities. It's a lot of noise for nothing. What are grape growers going to do without copper in the vineyards? Copper mixed with other materials has served as a key tool in viticulture since 1885. Copper is a natural occurring element and is approved worldwide for organic agriculture. Critically, there's no equivalent for organic farming. The other options are forbidden synthetic fungicides. So basically, we can spray pesticides on our crops or copper. They mentioned in the article the amount of copper you would have to use to get to any sort of toxic levels is ridiculous. It'll never make it through into the bottle anyway. Really bitterly bad news for that. Probably hopefully gets reversed, but we will see. Alrighty. And then we're going to go to a W. Blake Gray over at Wine Searcher. Searcher's got an article on wine's popularity, how it's gone down, what the trends are, low alcohol, all this kind of stuff, who's drinking, who's not, while they're drinking, while they're not, all of these various patterns. So let's just hear it in his own words here. So from the article, the main reason people who drink other alcohol than wine is that they just don't like it. Fully 30% of U.S. consumers simply do not like how wine tastes, said Wine Market Council President Liz Thatch. That's true. I know so many people that are like, I don't like wine. We ask ourselves, how is that possible? But it is. The Wine Market Council held a webinar this week on wine and wellness, releasing results of a survey of 1,200 wine drinkers and 305 people who drink other types of alcohol, but rarely or never wine. As you might guess, from the continuing slump in wine sales, 38% said they're drinking less. Of those, about 1/3 said it's because alcohol is bad for their health. Just a third. Only 21% cited the risk of cancer as a reason for drinking less. By far, the largest number, 46%, said they're trying to reduce calories. Another 39% said they're trying to reduce sugar, and 36% said alcohol adds no nutritional value. So there you go. People overthinking wine, why they drink it, why they like it. But everybody's trying to explain what the heck is going on. Well, there you go. Another attempt. And with that, let's get to our wine and winery of the week. All right. Well, we're going to go to Temecula for the rest of the show. Exciting, isn't it? We'll go to the Carter Estates Winery and Resort in the ultimate Temecula Winery Hotel. This is kind of crazy. So the resort part is probably like 75% finished because they were building it just before COVID. The tasting room, the property, the vineyards. This is basically Carter Estate is owned by the Carter family, which also owns the South Coast Winery, which is just kind of across the street, down the street kind of thing, which is one of the largest winery hotels as well in Temecula. So they own both of these. The actual South Coast, I would say, produces kind of average wines, whereas Carter Estate produces some of the best. It's kind of like their premium brand, trying to produce some of the best wines that they possibly can in Temecula. The tasting experience is lovely, as you can see from the pictures. You're sitting out in the vineyards, indoor and outdoor seating, depending on how the weather is. Very, very nice. And you're going to be pleasantly surprised. It's one of those places. We talked about this in Temecula. You've got a few. Robert Renzoni, amazing taste room. Carter Estates, pretty good stuff going on over there. You know, kind of limited. There are a few. You can check out our guide on Temecula. If it's not out, it'll be out soon. Anyway, price range $20-$30. Reservations technically are required, but not really. You can most likely just walk in. You'll never have a problem getting in there as well. And with that, our wine of the week, we're going to stay with Carter Estates. And this is their white blend. It was a 2022 Les Nobles. Really an interesting blend of white grapes. I can't remember exactly what they were, but if you click through to the link and you read about this wine, which we rated 93 points, you will know. Priced at $33, really, really reasonable. I have here a bottle of the 2014 Syrah. That's the big thing. They're aging these wines forever before they release them. I think it's because, they're doing what they got. They got to work with the grapes they have. They have to work with the climate they have, the soil they have in Temecula. And yes, you can get some very good wines out of there, but you need some excellent winemakers who know what they're working with and do the best they can with it. So, and that's true with that white wine as well. So Carter Estates, if you're in Temecula, check them out. And with that, let's go across the street for our restaurant and corkage of the week. So literally across the street from Carter Estates is the Truffle Pig Winery, and the Truffle Pig Winery is Robert Renzoni and another gentleman. It's kind of a joint venture there, and they have, can't remember the name of the other winery that used to be there. Anyway, completely redone, opened a beautiful restaurant there called Domenico's Italian Chophouse. The just getting going is relatively new. It's one of the better places to eat. If you happen to be in the Temecula, I would definitely check it out. Strangely, they do not allow corkage, which is kind of strange. You can only basically, if you buy some wine on property, you can drink it there. So that's kind of good. And they don't even charge you for that. So buy a bottle at the tasting room, take it up to the restaurant. No corkage fee, but you can drink it. So that's kind of a winner. But if you're looking to bring in your own special bottle, well, go up the street to just like a quarter of a mile to the South Coast Winery Resort, to the Vineyard Rose Restaurant. So the South Coast Winery has got a beautiful restaurant. We've reviewed this as well. You can check it out over on Cork and Journey. They charge $25 per bottle, no limit. They don't care. Bring wine in, eat at our restaurant, shop in our shops, maybe buy some of our wine. So there you go. That's kind of it's the most we've done on Temecula in a long time. I think we're done with that for a while. Anyway, with that, that's going to wrap up our show. I want to thank everybody for joining. As always, please follow us on social media. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app as well. And check out that. Let's go somewhere else in the world. Check out that interview we did with Remy Jean at Chateau Leneuf. When we were over in Chattanooga. It is a winner. Until next week, everybody. Cheers.